How do we speak, sound, and look like a leader? What qualities do effective leaders need? I'm Linda Katz-Wilner, founder of Successfully Speaking. I am a speech and communication trainer and coach who helps leaders and aspiring leaders communicate with confidence, clarity, and credibility. I met today's guest, Marlene Thomas, when we were presenters at a training in DC several years ago. Marlene is the president and CEO of Thomas Management Consulting. She provides strategic consulting and executive coaching on leadership, as well as many other areas. As the past president of the International Coaching Federation, the Metro DC chapter, Marlene certainly knows what it takes to be a leader. Welcome, Marlene.
Thank you so much, Linda. It is so great to be here with you today.
Yes, and to speak with you again after all these years.
I know, right?
Marlene, why don't we start with tell me a little bit how your business has evolved over the years.
Okay. I started my business in 2010. I was a solopreneur, um, retired from the federal government, had worked a little bit in state government, and actually got laid off in
Mm,
2008 when, the economy kind of crashed. And so I started my own consulting business because I didn't like the way it felt to be laid off. And I
mm,
knew that I had a lot of skills. And so right away, I met a colleague at a small business affair. And he has been a mentor and a friend to me ever since. He helped me get my business off the ground. He gave me my first subcontract,
mm.
and it was phenomenal. It was really great work, and it was coaching. Actually, Linda, it was coaching, and I had never, even though I had coached, but I
Mhm,
wasn't a certified coach.
mhm.
And once I got that contract and started that work, I knew that I had to get my certification.
Ah,
And so I got my certification, and I was still doing other things that was part of my business, HR and some budget and finance
mm.
and some other stuff. But coaching was the one thing that really stuck with me, and I love that work.
Yeah, and you say that coaching is you're coaching people to be leaders. And I know
Yeah.
you do some leadership coaching, as I mentioned already. What qualities do you think it does take to be an effective leader?
Well, I think leadership is really complex.
Hmm.
And some people say you are born with leadership skills, that you can be taught to lead. What I believe is that training and experience are the two things that really help you become an effective leader. Even if you feel like you're a born leader, I
Hmm.
still think you have to invest in yourself to really understand what leadership is. And the first thing that I really think is important is an important quality is you have to be self-aware.
Mm.
How do you show up? You know, how do other people see you?
Mhm.
That's real. You have to know and understand that to really identify with people. Another skill that I think is really important is communication. You've got to
Mm.
be able to um, communicate effectively with people to help them understand what your ideas are, and really to collaborate with people in a different way. If you don't have good communication skills, you can't you can't be good at collaboration. And again, that's an important skill as a
Mhm.
leader.
Mhm. Well, you just spoke to my heart when you said communication, because that's exactly how I help people, and that is the key part. Because you could be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't communicate with the people around you, how can you lead?
Right,
Yeah.
right. I love that.
Okay, let's take this situation, Marlene. I'm somebody new, or I just moved into this leadership position. I may not have a lot of experience, but somebody had faith in me to put me in that position. I'm coming to you for assistance. What do I need to do first?
Well, what
I
you
know you mentioned self-aware. I know that.
hmm And so, you know, I there's so many assessments out there. You're going to come into a leadership role. You're going to really get to know your team,
Hmm.
get to understand them as individuals. You're going to show up to them as a strong leader. But you're also going to find out what it is they need from you. And again, that's a question that a lot of leaders don't ask.
Hmm.
What is it that you need from me to be effective in your job? Because your job as a leader is to get the work done through others.
That's wonderful, and I love to hear that because I have coached some people related to their communications, and then
Mhm,
I speak with their manager. And
mhm.
one of the managers once said to me, "He's a leader, but he's not realizing that he needs to delegate and empower his team, and that's what makes a good leader, not just that you're the one in charge of everybody."
Right,
So I love
absolutely.
that you said, ask the questions or ask, what do you need from me so that you can excel? Because I hope leaders are trying to make the people on their team become future leaders. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yes, yes, they are. And they need to realize that everyone on their team is different. They
Mm,
have different needs of them. And that's why you ask that question, because what works for me, what I'm looking for in this organization may not be what Linda's looking for in this
mhm,
organization.
mhm. Well, that's where we get into having diverse teams that have different needs and different experiences. Doesn't that make the better team?
Absolutely. I mean, diversity is, anyone who does not think that diversity is important, I just don't understand, because diversity is not just about how you look, it's about how you think. It's about what you bring to the team. It's about how you challenge the organization to be better,
And I'll add to that, and your culture.
and
So
your
when we
culture.
have the intercultural teams,
Yes.
there's so much that comes together because styles are so different.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, I know that you were I mentioned already that you were the president of the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. Tell me about that. And I think that's when I first met you. You were moving into that role.
Yeah.
And tell me your experience being president of that because it is a very large chapter, I understand.
The Metro DC chapter is the largest city chapter in the world.
Wow.
When I was there, we had over 1,600 members,
Hmm.
and it will always be one of the most memorable times in my life.
Wow.
I was on the board. I think I was on the board 5 years before I stepped up to be president. And so I really kind of knew the organization, and I joined the board because I love the work. Again, it's about coaching, and
Mhm.
I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be in community with like-minded people. You know, coaching, if you're coaching alone, it can be a pretty lonely place
Mhm.
to be.
Mhm.
And so I took over that role, and I had the greatest team. Again, when you talk about leadership, um, I had the greatest team of board members and we had a lot of initiatives that we wanted to make sure, actually, that I wanted to make sure that I accomplished during my term. And I could not have done it without my team.
Mm.
They were phenomenal.
Marlene, what were you most proud of? Because you said there were accomplishments. What stood
Mhm.
out to you as your biggest accomplishment or most memorable accomplishment?
Well, we there were a couple. I think I increased the diversity. You know, um, there are no numbers to prove that, but I was the first Black female
Mm.
president of the chapter, and so I got a lot of emails personally to me that said what that meant for them to see me in that role. That they
Mhm.
felt heard, they felt seen, they felt like they could now really contribute to this community, and that they were a part of this community.
Mhm.
So That was one thing. We got several awards, and but probably the thing that stands out the most to me in that role was our work with Ukraine.
Hmm.
A month after the war broke out, the past president of the Ukrainian chapter reached out to me for help.
Hmm.
And we didn't know what that help would look like.
Hmm.
But we got our heads together, me and the head of my partnership committee, and we developed a coaching program where we reached out to members in our chapter to coach members of the Ukrainian chapter. And it was the first initiative of its kind in the ICF community.
Hmm. That's outstanding. And at that time to help those people and know that your services are so welcomed for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Marlene, I know that you have a passion, and it's following up what you just talked about. You have a passion for supporting Black female leaders.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So, I supporting Black female leaders is very personal to me because I've been in their shoes.
Hmm.
As I grew in the federal government, I was always the only
Hmm.
woman typically because the organization that I worked with was a male dominated organization. And I was typically the only Black woman. And so a lot of the clients that I coach now or that reach out to me that want coaching, maybe they're not the only, but they are aspiring to be a senior executive or they're aspiring to be in the C-suite. And
Hmm.
so, a lot of they want to talk to a coach who has the same kind of experience they have. And sometimes even looks like them. Now, that for me means nothing because as a coach, my philosophy is they have everything that they need to be successful. So, those conversations, I'm not giving them advice. I am helping them with what they've already got to
Hmm.
show up as that executive that they are.
That goes back to your self-awareness. So you're helping them identify what strengths they have.
Yes, yes,
You
because
just
they've
real
got it.
So you're not giving it to them. You're just helping them peel away those layers and seeing that it's there and
Yes.
what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
great. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Now, I always ask a question to all my guests, and that question is, what is one essential skill you think you need to speak, sound, and look like a leader?
Mm. It's a great, great question. And there's so many things, so many ways I could answer that. But I think the thing that's really important and that encompasses a lot of the skills really is political savvy.
Mm.
You've got to, again, be able to show up and communicate with folks. You've got to look and like you're comfortable in this role. You've got to be comfortable in this role. You've got to believe in yourself. And political savvy, I think, encompasses all of those things. It's one of those, I'll call it skill sets that are talked about a lot,
Hmm.
but I don't think folks realize the different pieces of political savvy and what it means. That may be my next book. That may be my book, but, but yeah.
So, if you're going to list political savvy, and you mentioned some of them, how you show up, are there
Mhm.
any other aspects of political savvy that you want to discuss?
Well, there are, of course, again, political savvy means how do you, political savvy is having integrity, showing up with integrity, being honest, showing empathy. Um, it's it, Again, there's so many pieces to it.
Hmm.
um, Being decisive, being able to make a decision, and people are looking for leaders who will make decisions.
Hmm.
Being able to collaboration again is a really big part of the leadership skills. and being politically savvy, you've got to be able to collaborate. You've got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to make decisions. You've got to be able to show up with confidence. And in those times when things don't quite go your way, you've got to be resilient. You've got to be able to bounce back and not take it personally.
Mhm. There's that delicate balance that you're talking about then, is that you have to make decisions, but you also have to collaborate. They can't just be unilateral decisions. It's not just I show up, I'm the leader, this is what we do.
Right.
What I'm hearing from you is you have to collaborate, hear what everybody else needs, and then be able to make that decision with confidence and clarity. Is that?
Yes, absolutely. And those are the best leaders who can, there are people, you're in a boardroom and you're listening, and there's one person that just kind of synthesizes everything that was said. And,
Hmm.
and your thought is, boy, he or she is really powerful.
And that may not always be the leader in the room.
That's right. That's,
That's the aspiring leader in the
that's
room.
right.
Or that leader has to look over their shoulder and say, that person's coming right behind me.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And that gives the people who are aspiring leaders some ideas on how they can move into that position. Like we said, can they communicate with that clarity and pull together everything and then be able to explain it?
Yep.
That is a great, so we're coming back to communication again.
It's all about communications, Linda.
You and I agree on that one. I think everybody would agree, because that's very often people's challenge, that they may be the leader, but they don't speak, sound, or even look like that leader. And that's what they have to focus on
Yeah.
to be successful. Marlene, if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way?
Okay. My email address is marlene.thomas@dmtconsults.com,
Okay.
or my website, www.dmtconsults.com.
Okay. And of course, LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn, of course.
That's how I keep in touch with you.
I know, I love it.
And again, that's the beauty of something like LinkedIn, because I kept seeing your posts and saying, wow, we met years ago.
Mhm.
Let's connect again. And you made it very clear that you have a passion for leadership. And that's why I reached out to you. So I'm
Well,
glad that
thank you.
happened.
I am too, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. And it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. I know we'll have more over the years, the weeks, the months, the years. And again, feel free, anybody, to reach out to Marlene if they have any questions. And Marlene, thanks so much for agreeing to this interview, because I learn so much every time I interview somebody about leadership.
Thank you, Linda. I really enjoyed it. It was great talking with you and seeing you again.
Yes. All right. Take care.
All right. Take care. Thank you.